How should we handle this? If we keep going like this, we'll go under.
Emma, the CEO's daughter, said this as she shed a tear. The company was filled with memories of her father, the CEO. However, if we didn't take action, we would eventually have to start bankruptcy proceedings. If only Jaden hadn't taken so many employees with him when he went independent, we wouldn't be in this situation. Seeing Emma's tears, I felt a strong urge to not make her cry anymore. I had grown old and had lost the desire for new dreams, but Emma's tears changed me. So I performed a few miracles and saved the company.
Everyone wants to work with you, Noah. Who are you, really?
How should I answer that? My name is Noah Moore. I'm a 50-year-old engineer working at a company called Innovation System. At 50, I'm no longer young, but it should be my prime working years. If I had a family, the children's education expenses would no longer be a burden, and it would be a time to enjoy a fulfilling life. Unfortunately, such happiness seemed far from my reality. I graduated from university, joined a major company, and got married 3 years later. Everything was going smoothly until my son was born, and then my life started to fall apart. I often brought work home, but with my son around, I couldn't concentrate, leading to constant fights with my wife. Eventually, my wife left with my son, and we got divorced. I continued to pay child support until my son turned 22. He successfully graduated from university and got a job at a major company, and now I can finally take a breath. When my son was young, I met with him regularly, but he never seemed unhappy living without his father, always looking annoyed, with his lips pursed. I began to question why we were meeting at all. Eventually, my ex-wife remarried another man, and my son stopped wanting to see me. I blamed myself for not being a good father, but at the time I didn't reflect on it that way. I felt abandoned by my wife and child. Being alone is indeed lonely. Thinking about living the next 10 or 20 years alone made me feel depressed. If this is what life is, then I lose motivation for everything. Maybe that's why I started to slack off and didn't work as hard. Back then, I think I was completely hollow. I didn't have friendly conversations or go out drinking with my colleagues, nor did I work energetically. To be honest, I was just a salary thief with no real reason to be kept on by the company. I was seen as a complete loser, and with the change of CEO, I was forced into early retirement. Facing the reality that I hadn't quit, but had been made to quit, I realized I was in trouble and hastily started looking for a new job. My track record as an engineer was solid, and I had even won various awards in the past. However, my lack of enthusiasm had reached the higher ups in other companies, making my job search difficult. The company that hired me was Innovation System. However, this company was in serious financial trouble, on the brink of bankruptcy, you might say. The other day, many of the other employees resigned en masse, creating an atmosphere where anyone who joined would be welcomed. In the nearly empty office, numerous computer screens were lined up, and the low hum of machines could be heard. Feeling like I had made a mistake deep down, I decided to stay for a while, saving my salary until the company went bankrupt, and preparing for my next jobs. This company had a 25-year-old CEO's daughter named Emma Miller. After graduating from university, she joined her father's company, Innovation System, and has only been here for 3 years. The future of this company rested heavily on her shoulders. Recently, her father, the CEO, fell ill, and as if waiting for that moment, many employees quit in large numbers. Innovation System was truly a sinking ship. Emma, who had only recently entered the workforce, was taking on the helm of this ship alone. Every morning when I arrived at work, Emma was already in the office, carefully wiping down each desk with a cloth. I worried that cleaning an empty office would be difficult for her. At first, Emma didn't tell me why so many employees had quit all at once. Not wanting to press her too hard, I silently helped with the cleaning every morning. Emma was small and had a charming appearance, likely having made many men's hearts flutter in the past. She now said she was solely focused on work and wasn't dating anyone. I quickly grew fond of Emma, more as a parent who adores a child, rather than romantic affection. Emma was always positive about everything, constantly smiling and trying to uplift the atmosphere. Though for now, it was just the two of us.
If even one more employee comes back, I'm sure the situation will improve. Let's hang in there until then.
Holding a rag in her hand, she made a small fist and stroked a determined pose. Such a sight tugged at the heartstrings, making anyone want to protect her. After finishing the cleaning, we each sat at our desks and turned on our computers. The low hum of the machines, a sound I've heard for years, always quietly motivated me. Coupled with Emma's passionate smile, I'd been gradually regaining my younger self. I didn't think my presence alone would improve the state of innovation system, but I was grateful for being hired, so I swore to do my best. At the last minute before 9 o'clock, a young man wearing a bicycle helmet rushed in. "Good morning." "Oh, made it just in time."
James, you're always cutting it close. But no matter the rain or shine, you always make it here before 9 o'clock, and that's impressive.
This man, James Hill, 35 years old, was the third and last remaining employee. While his peers, seniors, and juniors had all left, James had stayed with Innovation System. The three of us racked our brains every day, trying to figure out what to do. Continuing to rent a large office space was financially painful, but Emma dreamed of working with a large team again, so she didn't want to move to a smaller office. "Noah, could you take a look at this part? I think there might be a more efficient way to handle it, but I can't seem to come up with a good idea." James claimed he was not good with people, but he never seemed intimidated by me, even though I'd never had much charisma. James's fondness for me was both surprising and somewhat pleasing. Just then, footsteps echoed down the hallway, and former employee Jaden Carter appeared. He barged into the office, leaving the door wide open, and approached Emma's desk. Emma's smile vanished. Her face turned red with anger.
Jaden, what are you doing here?
"Hey, don't frown so early in the morning. You'll ruin that cute face of yours."
I don't need compliments from a traitor like you.
Jaden frequently visited the office, always trying to provoke Emma. To be honest, my first impression of him was that he seemed a bit flashy, but undeniably handsome. He knew his appeal, often showing up in the kind of t-shirt and jacket combo, like a young CEO of a venture company. Jaden's attitude toward Emma was full of confidence, and he seemed fully aware of how charming his smile was. The whole issue started with Jaden's rebellion. Jaden used to be the top-performing engineer in the company, and he harbored deep feelings for Emma. However, after Emma rejected his proposal, Jaden retaliated by taking all the other employees with him to start a new company. Emma's father's illness could be attributed to the shock caused by Jaden's betrayal. That's why Emma couldn't forgive Jaden at all. I didn't hear the story from Emma, but from James. James, who was the same age and joined the company at the same time as Jaden, mentioned how difficult it was to be constantly compared to him. He's an extrovert, and I'm an introvert. He was good at his job and handsome, so he got a lot of attention from the women in the office, but he was always focused on Emma. He seems like the perfect man, so what could Emma have against him? His personality, I'd say. He's made a lot of women cry behind the scenes. If I were a woman, Jaden would be the last person I'd want to date. I watched Emma and Jaden's exchange, remembering what James had told me. The condition for Jaden to return to Innovation System was for Emma to accept his proposal. I didn't know how large a company Jaden had built, but marrying Emma and absorbing Innovation System would be a major asset for him. Emma's face reddened with anger as she shouted at Jaden.
I don't recognize you as a man, or even as a person a dot. If you were truly human, you'd have a warm soul somewhere inside you.
Jaden looked slightly shocked, but quickly returned to his arrogant smile. "Soon I'll bring this company under my control. Then I'll make you work like a slave."
There's no way I'll let that happen. Now leave, you're ruining the atmosphere.
Emma was about to throw her mug at him, so I hurriedly stopped her. Jaden glanced at me, briefly surprised, then resumed his sneer and turned to leave. As I looked over at Jaden's back, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. I staggered to my desk, plopped heavily into my chair, and let out a deep sigh. When I looked up, Emma was standing there, pale-faced, her hands resting on the desk, head bowed.
What should we do? At this rate, the company will go out of business.
A single tear fell from Emma's eye. Innovation System was filled with memories of her father, the CEO. If things continued as they were, we would soon face bankruptcy. This all started when Jaden poached a bunch of employees and went independent. Emma, who was always cheerful and smiling, was now shedding tears out of frustration. A man who makes a woman cry is trash, and so is a man who leaves a crying woman alone. Emma realized I was watching her and quickly looked up, forcing a smile.
All right, let's do our best today. I'm heading out for some sales calls.
By yourself? I'll stay behind to keep an eye on the office. Don't you think it's better to take James with you? Looking for new clients alone seems like a heavy burden.
To tell the truth, James agreed to stay, on the condition that he doesn't have to talk to anyone. Talking to people is a nice change of pace for me, so I'll be fine. Well then, I'm off.
Looking back now, she probably wanted to cry her heart out, where no one could see her. James didn't seem to notice at all, focused on his computer screen. Seeing Emma's tears, I felt a warmth rise in my chest. This young woman, who could be my daughter, was hiding her tears and trying her hardest. She suppressed her emotions, smiled, and regarding the feelings of her few employees. Watching Emma, I felt like I wanted to punch my past self, who had lived such an unmotivated life. Emma's tears changed me, an old man who had long since stopped, dreaming of new things. James, I need to step out for a bit today. Can I leave the office in your hands? Sure. Take care. James didn't show much passion for anything, beyond skills and work, but I decided to take that as a sign of his personality. It looked like we'd be working together for a long time, and I had a lot of confidence in James's abilities. I left the office building, stopped a taxi, and got off in front of a 5-story building, a short walk from the train station. It was at vocational school where my best friend, Dylan Cooper, worked as a lecturer. When I asked to see him, Dylan quickly came down to the first floor. Noah, it's been a while. So, have you thought about becoming a lecturer here? Give me a break. I hate being in front of people more than anything. Besides, I have some circumstances, and for the first time in a while, I feel fired up and want to stay active. Noah, the guy with a heart as cold as an iceberg, is feeling passionate? Tell me more about it. I'd known Dylan for a long time, and he knew how apathetic I was. So, he was genuinely intrigued to see me this fired up. I quickly explained how I left my previous company and joined Innovation System, how the company was on the verge of bankruptcy, and how Emma, the CEO's daughter, was struggling alone. Dylan listened to my story with great interest. So what do you want me to do? For the flames of your passion, Noah, I'd do anything. Come on, don't tease me. It's not a romantic matter. I just want to help Emma, who's trying her best. It's like a form of atonement for her, living without ever giving my all. I asked him to introduce talented students and graduates to Innovation System. I care about my students too. It's better for their future to gain experience under you than to be used up by other companies. After all, you are still known as the legendary programmer. Gradually, talented individuals started knocking on Innovation System's door and were hired. Emma officially became the CEO of Innovation System. Perhaps due to her newfound sense of responsibility, Emma started taking more initiative and giving precise instructions to her subordinates. While I was captivated by her cute looks, Emma's abilities as an engineer were undoubtedly impressive. I worked hard not to be outdone, sharing the experience and knowledge I had gained. Together, we created various systems and software. Eventually, the high quality of Innovation Systems products began to be recognized everywhere. And finally, we achieved our highest sales ever. This way, Innovation System avoided bankruptcy, and its management stabilized. The number of employees increased, and their quality was very high. Customer trust grew, and the future of our employees looked bright. To be honest, I was almost satisfied at this point, but Emma didn't stop. I had misunderstood Emma, thinking she was a poor little rich girl. In reality, she was much tougher and more determined than we thought. Then, Emma finally began to take revenge on Jaden. She secretly approached each of the talented engineers who had transferred to Jaden's company and scouted them one by one. At first, the employees hesitated, feeling they couldn't return after betraying Emma. But when my name was mentioned, their attitude changed. I'd like to come back, if I can work under Mr. Jaden Moore. With that, they returned to Innovation System one after another. Even Emma was puzzled by this. She must have questioned herself. Why would they want to work with an old guy like me? Anyway, Innovation System quickly became famous as a net company gathering talented engineers. The key person behind this was undoubtedly me.
Everyone wants to work with you, Noah. Who exactly are you?
I didn't know how to answer her question. Then, James quietly came over to us. Emma, it seems you don't know much about the history of system technology in America, but I've known from the beginning that Noah is an extraordinary person.
An extraordinary person? What did he do?
The year was 1999. A significant portion of the American population believed in Nostradamus' great prophecy. Nostradamus was a French prophet who predicted that humanity would be wiped out in July 1999. from the 20th to 21st centuries. The so-called end of the century that comes once every 1,000 years arrived. In 2000, there was also a significant concern of the Y2K problem, where computers were feared to malfunction. In such a somewhat unstable era, I created a game based on Nostradamus's Great Prophecy, which became a massive hit. In the end, no significant events occurred that threatened the survival of humanity, and now we are safely living in the 21st century. 25 years have passed since then, and most American people have forgotten about that game. 25 years ago was the year Emma was born, so there was no way she remembered it. However, in the field, especially among students studying game development, I have become a godlike figure. I knew from the start. I'm really glad I stayed with Innovation System. After all, I became Noah's top disciple.
Wow, that's impressive. I had no idea. I was keeping a bluebird all this time.
Please don't call me a bluebird. That was a long time ago. I'm more like a fossil bird now. Yet industry evolves rapidly, and technology from a year ago becomes outdated quickly. If you don't keep your eyes on the future, you'll soon fall behind and won't survive as an engineer. That's why I was bewildered that the old game I made was treated like a Bible. Emma then turned to me again and thanked me.
Noah, thank you so much for joining our company. If it weren't for you, Innovation System would have gone bankrupt by now. You saved us.
Emma, please stop. I'm the one who should be thanking you. I've been living my life quite carelessly. Your determination to keep the company alive changed me. Oh, Emma, Noah, you are forgetting about me. I'm part of the team, too. If it weren't for James, the company would have completely ceased to function. The three of us were, in a way, the founders of the second Innovation System. We pledged again to continue working together and doing our best. One day, having lost most of his talented employees, Jaden rushed into Innovation System. He barged into the office, heading straight to Emma's desk. He berated Emma, demanding the return of his employees. However, Emma remained composed.
The employees chose our company on their own. If your company were more attractive, they wouldn't have swayed by my scouting.
If Innovation System is more appealing, that's not because of your reputation. I know Noah Moore is here. He's a real strategist, isn't he?
Feel free to resent me. At least I don't have to become your wife.
Former colleagues in the office also looked at Jaden with disdain. Jaden's terrible character left them tired, even after only a short time working with him. Many employees expressed their dissatisfaction with Jaden. To me, Jaden said, "I'm going to make you pay for this." And he left. Jaden's next move was quite unexpected. He tried to buy me off. He thought if he could win me over, the problem would be solved. But there was no way I would go along with such a proposal. On the contrary, I felt an urge to corner Jaden completely. In the midst of this, one of the former employees revealed to a local newspaper that Jaden's company was a completely exploitative company. Working on holidays was a given, and despite working overtime every day, they were told it was because the company was newly founded and were not paid their due wages. In response to the newspaper's inquiries, Jade brazenly claimed that the former employee had no skills and that they were employed out of pity. This led to an all-out war. The former employee reached out to colleagues who had returned to Innovation System and gathered numerous testimonies. The story grew bigger and bigger, and through the articles, they continued to rebut each other's claims. It was clear that Jaden was at a disadvantage, and his company became widely recognized as an exploitative company among the public. Eventually, Jaden's company was left with no employees. Even when they posted job openings, the bad reputation never faded, so no one joined. A returning employee sighed deeply. The one thing they had was a decent office space. As he said so, I could easily imagine Jaden sitting in the CEO's chair, stunned, in a large office filled with many desks and computers. I had a mischievous thought of visiting Jaden's office under the guise of work, but the best course was to stay out of his affairs. I pushed thoughts of Jaden from my mind and refocused on the work at hand. The software released by Innovation System kept hitting the mark one after another. Among these, a game created by James became widely popular, achieving unprecedented success. For this game, James himself reached out to illustrators and voice actors. Though he had always struggled with social interactions, being entrusted with a game bearing his name as the director made him realize the true meaning of acting with responsibility. At that time, I noticed Emma watching James with admiration. Eventually, a collection of artwork depicting the game's world was published, becoming a major hit despite the downturn in the publishing industry. Riding this wave, there was talk of adapting the game into an anime. Though this was uncharted territory for James, Emma decided to entrust him with the project. She quietly asked me,
If anything happens, please help him out.
never forgetting to ask for support. James joined the anime production committee, repeatedly attending meetings as the original creator to ensure the world was faithfully represented. Over time, he gained a stronger presence and gradually took on the appearance of a responsible man. The anime became a huge hit, leading to an animated movie release at the end of the year. It didn't stop there. Next year, a live-action adaptation starring popular young actors was planned. Emma, too, grew more reliable while working as CEO. Initially, some people inside and outside the company underestimated her, because she was just a cute CEO's daughter. But recently, their gazes turned to ones of respect. Emma became completely dependable, and as her advisor in both business and personal matters, I took a step back and tried to watch over her. Concerning Jaden, he repeatedly visited Innovation System, proposing business partnerships, but Emma dismissed him coldly.
No matter how many times you ask, I refuse. Our company has grown in size. I can't risk the stability of our employees' lives by boarding a sinking ship.
Eventually, Jaden stopped visiting us. His company finally went bankrupt. When Jaden had established a large office, creating his own empire, could you have imagined this outcome? Since all the employees had quit, at least the company didn't go bankrupt, while still owing salaries. In the end, from founding the company to its collapse, only one software product had ever been commercialized. A large warehouse was filled with a huge stock of that software. While they wanted to sell it to offset the losses, there were no buyers. In the end, Jaden sold the recently purchased luxury high-rise condo to cover the company's debts. Afterward, Jaden started hopping between various companies, but none lasted long. His bad temper and womanizing ways led to constant trouble. Eventually, he was pursued by debt collectors, forcing him to vacate his apartment and live on the run. At some point, he disappeared, and now no one knows where he is or how he's surviving. A year has passed since then. Today, James and Emma are getting married. The ceremony is solemnly held in a chapel. Emma's father, the former CEO who had been recuperating from an illness, appeared for the first time in a while, walking Emma down the aisle. He had worked hard on his walking rehabilitation, just to be able to walk alongside his daughter on this day. Seeing James and Emma standing together with happy faces, I remember the first day I visited Innovation System. At that time, we were in such a desperate situation that couldn't have fallen any lower. Now, all three of us are probably showing the best expressions of our lives. I know that this couple will face various hardships in the future. Unforeseen misfortunes may come my way as well. But we have gained the strength to climb this high and have become mentally strong. No matter what happens from now on, we will be okay. In my heart, I deeply thanked Emma. Emma is the angel who awakened the aimless man I had become. As I watched the two of them smiling happily, I gave them a heartfelt round of applause.